SEC, 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 SEC. Welcome back
Rocky
to another
Top,
episode
you'll
of the
always be.
podcast. Dan, you're a big cast. We're amped up. That was an ass kicking, bro.
Yeah, it was.
That felt good. We Ohio State exercised some demons. SEC got belt to ass on Saturday. Kentucky went down. Yeah, Ohio
Yeah.
State basketball, shout out them. Um, they got Bradshaw back and like Mobley and Thornton. They cooked Kentucky. Just awesome, awesome start to the day. Um, and then the real best part of the day. Never a doubt, Cass. I just want to point out some things to you. Teams that have had leads over Ohio State this year at one point in time: Akron, Marshall, Northwestern,
Oregon,
Oregon.
Michigan, Penn
Tennessee
State,
never had a lead.
never. And what's wild to me is Ohio State hasn't given up a touchdown since the Oregon game through the air.
Yeah.
And all we heard was that Dylan Sampson was going to run all over us. Nico was going to throw all over us. They were going to checker the shoe. They were going to take over the shoe. Hey, we were worried there for a minute, but hey, them shout out to the Tennessee fans. You guys brought it. You guys brought it. Had everybody talking from game day. You guys showed up inside the shoe early, and then all of a sudden it ended up turning into probably 80,000 Buckeye fans, a 20,000 Tennessee fan. They didn't announce the final attendance though, did they?
No, and you could see too the early images. It looked like there was way more Tennessee fans because the stadium just didn't fill out yet. Once it was in like in
Yeah.
the second quarter and like you could actually see Buckeye Nation showed up. Tennessee fans, they showed up early. I'll give them credit. A lot of them were there Friday. They took over the most unknown bars in Columbus and flexed, acting like they were taking.
They Tennessee fans kept retweeting and saving the videos of the same bars.
There was like one bar, I think it was like in the German village they went to. Never heard of it. As like the Red Room or Velvet. I don't know. It was weird. Never heard of it. They went to Forbidden Root. They serve charcuterie and white wine. Forbidden Root. I know the Tennessee alumni owns them, but not really a football bar. And then the last one was Parlay downtown. Parlay is sick. I'll give them credit for that. Parlay is a cool bar. But
What was hilarious is Friday night they were tweeting out and saying there's like no Buckeye fans out. It's
but
20 degrees outside. It's 38 degrees outside and rainy.
Buckeye fans didn't. We did like. It was clear that Buckeye fans understood the assignment. It was get there around like 3 or 4 and start tailgating because it's a night game. It's a marathon, not a sprint. The
Yeah.
Tennessee fans, they got after it. I'll give them credit. Like they did not pace at all. They just got right after it. I think though that kind of hurt them in the long run. Buckeye fans kind of knew, hey, let's take it easy. It's gonna be a long, fun night, and we had a great night. I was up till 3 a.m. and I didn't even go to the game, so
I was up till 1:30, 2 o'clock. It was just hard to go to sleep, man.
it
It
was,
was.
I was jacked up.
It
Um,
was really, really hard to go to sleep.
Real quick, just going through the numbers. Nico, Tennessee's quarterback, 14 for 31, 104 yards. Really didn't do anything through the air. Their leading receiver was Brew McCoy, 4 catches, 40 yards. On the flip side, Dylan Sampson touched the ball 3 times. He had 2 carries, 6 yards, and a catch for 2 yards. Literally, I don't know how they all got hurt. The Squirrel White got hurt too, which was crazy. Nico Tennessee fans are like, "Oh, Nico trucked Cody Simon. He didn't truck Cody Simon, dude. Get out of here. That wasn't a truck."
No, and
Uh,
apparently his other helmet got
bro,
cracked too.
yeah.
So I mean, Sonny Styles laid the wood. I mean, there was some
Milani
Ohio
Bell.
State. Uh, Sonny. I mean, the defense was just phenomenal. By far, Jack Sawyer and JTT's best games as Buckeyes. Like Jack Sawyer is on another level, and it looks the way this team is. the way this team responded, they're ready for Oregon. And
Even
um,
even I thought Kenyatta Jackson played really well.
he
Outside,
got robbed, man.
and yeah,
That was
the passer was ridiculous. Nico literally jumped in the air, and it wasn't late. They just said he drove him into the ground. He just tackled him.
what was he supposed to do?
It looked like a worse hit because he was in the air. Then like when you take him down, it looks like you're driving him into the ground. But he wasn't. I don't think that was roughing the pass. I think that was just a terrible call.
And the non pass interference on Jeremiah Smith and the bogus interception, which was a great play by the defender.
Did barely get the foot in, but we didn't need Herb Street. Fowler's at least trying to be. I don't know, it could be close. And Herb Street's like, absolutely got the foot in. Screw the
I
Buckeyes.
I thought Fowler did a fantastic job
I agree.
of balancing the SEC bias and balancing this game. I thought by far one of the Buckeye game, one of the the last Buckeye game I think they did. I I thought he was a little iffy, and he had a great call, and we're going to be stuck with him the rest of the way. I believe unless um, Arizona State defeats Texas um, in the what is that? The Peach Bowl? Yeah,
Yeah,
the Peach Bowl. If Arizona State defeats Texas in the Peach Bowl, Fowler and Herbstreit are going to go do Notre Dame, Penn State, or Georgia, Penn State.
yeah,
But if you really look at the bracket, Fowler and Herbstreit are with us the rest of the way.
yeah.
Like we're going to be in the biggest games the rest of the way.
Yep.
And I think the way this team responded, got behind the way Will Howard came out and played. I
His
I was
Instagram
nervous.
post.
I was so nervous for this game where I was shaking. I had to run upstairs, take some deep breaths. I was almost hyperventilating because I was so nervous because I have a personal vendetta on, and I'm not going to air this out on my podcast because that's just not who I am. But and this off air, why I have a personal vendetta against.
Not a fan of Tennessee. I personally, bro, have never had a problem with Tennessee.
I don't
Um,
have a problem with the team or the program.
I,
It's
I
just,
yeah, I know your whole thing.
yeah.
I like Tennessee. Like I liked them outside of this past couple two
My
three.
favorite NFL player came from Tennessee. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, obviously I was the Joe Milton Heisman. Like I was I ran Joe Milton's Heisman campaign basically.
But
So
like,
um,
when he threw that touchdown pass to Jeremiah Smith, we go up 7-0. We come out and get that 3-and-out, and we score, go up 14-0. I was just like, I think I texted you. I was like,
here we go.
or I said, here we go, man. And then
Here we
we
go.
get another stop, and Trey makes it 21-0. And he did the John 3:16. That was awesome.
It
When we were up 21-0, I was able to relax.
Play calling was night and day opposite of what it was against Michigan. So like my theory about what happened with Michigan is either the coaches were trolling, um, they just wanted to troll and just call the most basic stuff. Will was concussed, or we just didn't want to show any of our tendencies for the playoffs. I don't know what happened in the Michigan game because we were finally getting Trey in space. We were looking deep for Jeremiah Smith. We even had some nice plays to G. Scott. Mecca was hitting some good crossing routes. It was just a completely night and day different offense. And the offense,
It's
that's how the offense should have run
it,
the
and
entire
it
time.
started from the offensive line.
Yeah,
I
Luke
mean,
Montgomery, stud. Great to see him in there.
yeah, I even thought Tegra, even that first quarter, he really struggled, but he responded, and I love the fact that Jack Sawyer was up in his grill on the sidelines. When we were on offense and Tegra was in that break, and we talked about that Travion touchdown. If Luke Montgomery doesn't make that block, we don't score. And Luke Montgomery just pancaked his guy. And then even later on in the game, Tegra had some great blocks that this offense aligned. Just you could tell, like not only is Ryan Day coaching for his job, but Justin Frye was coaching for his job, and Justin Frye cooked. That was the best I've seen this offensive line all season.
And you know what? There was nothing wrong with rotating guards. You know what year we rotated some guards in playoff games? People forget 2020 when you had and Paris Johnson was obviously an all-time player. But he rotated in at guard against Clemson. People for and had some
Yeah.
great blocks. So
Yes.
it was it worked out. I hope it continues to work out in against Oregon. Um, but just an all-time performance. Will
Yep.
Howard, he posted on his Instagram. He said just like winter came for winter came for the volunteers, like the Game of Thrones quote, and it's the
Yep.
hardest, it's the coolest caption I've ever seen. And that's literally what happened. I feel like Tennessee, they ran their mouths.
They're
They ran their
yeah.
mouths at a very bad time to do it after Ohio State lost to Michigan. And this was a game where Ohio State had to basically put some respect on their name again, and they did.
And you know, the Tennessee fans, kudos. Like I said, this was the battle between the two biggest toxic fan bases in the country, hands down. Tennessee fans can't are probably up there with Buckeye fans as one of the worst in the country, and they
Some,
they haven't they
some,
haven't had.
some other very the Bo Kamara who did everything for
Oh,
Columbus
that was
and stuff.
awesome.
That guy's awesome. There's some very not all the Tennessee fans are bad. Not all the Buckeye
No,
fans
no,
are very.
just like, and
There's some
that's
nuts. We both have crazy people in our fan
that
bases.
every fan base does. And the problem with the thing with Ohio State fans is we're calling out our coach. We're demanding he gets fired. Yeah, yeah, I get it. We lost to Michigan, but I think the script is turned now a little bit. I know there's still some angry fans out there that we got to beat Michigan. We got to beat Michigan, but like,
Which that will be addressed. That will be addressed, and that will be a point of emphasis for the next year. But Buckeyes are still alive for a national championship, and that's also important.
how about Ross Bjork, man? The
Cooked,
game day atmosphere brought
cooked.
back Hell's Bells for the entrance. The drone show, just the atmosphere, the pyro, like,
So I gotta ask you this because I think you were probably the most fair person to ask this because you actually you work with them. It, it, is Big Noon kickoff in the wrong here a little bit? And I don't want to put you on the spot because I know stuff with that.
I see the vision that Big Noon wants to do. They want all eyes on their production, and I get it. Like, I really do. But obviously, their hands are tied when it comes to the conference.
Like they can't just rebrand and be like Big Night Kickoff or something.
Right. You could still do Big Noon Kickoff as the show,
Uh,
but you don't have to have your premiere game at noon.
yeah,
But they want their premiere game at noon. However, if you look at the Big Ten, you're the two best teams on the East Coast time zones were Penn State and Ohio State, and then Oregon on the West Coast. You're not putting Oregon on at noon, but they've done it in years past where they've hosted Big Noon. They did it this year in Texas. We big Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt were in Columbus doing Purdue, Ohio State instead of Texas Tech, Colorado, where the show was at.
yeah.
They've done that before. So I don't, and you know what? This could change because if you listen, and I listen to the podcast a lot, the daily podcast with Jeremy Birmingham, Austin Ward, and all them. I respect the heck out of their work. You know, I they had Ross Bjork on, and he's fighting for more night games. And this proved Saturday night that the night game is where it's at.
It's
However,
the most
you
viewed. I believe it was the most viewed game of the playoff. Now
yeah
I would say I think it's just because it was Ohio State. Ohio State will always get the numbers wherever, and that's a fact.
yeah,
Like,
and that's the thing. And I've talked to executives about this. They're like, oh well, people are going to watch the noon games anyways. I was like, okay, but when you guys, if you had when the Big Ten championship was on Fox at 8 o'clock when Ohio State was playing. I know, granted, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever. I mean, not 4 years ago. Isn't the Big Ten championship I mean, granted, now the SEC is always 3:30. I get that. Even on ESPN, it was 3:30. But doesn't the Big Ten championship at 8 o'clock get more viewers than the ACC championship?
Yeah.
I mean, and you still do that game at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
I get them not putting their marquee game at 3:30. I really do, because with that Big Ten contract, CBS should never move off 3:30.
I agree.
But like I said in the group text with Blake, NBC has a production for noon games. They have, I think Noah Eagle and Todd Blackledge are great announcers, but they're not prime time announcers. They're not. They're hands down, they're not. Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson are prime time announcers. You could do your big noon show at noon till noon,
Yeah.
and Gus and Joel can still do the nightcap. ESPN does it with College Game Day.
Yeah. No, that's a great. I don't understand why it always has to be at noon, and that's something that will be addressed. I don't want. I don't want to make this the big noon show, but I just
No.
want to address that because I know a lot of people like the night game atmosphere was so incredible, and I just feel like Ohio State outside the Western Michigan game was basically robbed of a night game this year. Outside of this, I'm glad we ended the season with a night game, and it was great. We absolutely need more of those night games. That's just a
And
one.
then that's where week one comes into play. I hate to bring up. I know we got more games to play, but week one we play Texas. I've already talked to the execs at Fox. They've already put their bid in for that game because that's the big game.
Yeah.
In all honestly, no disrespect to Noah Eagle and Todd Blackledge, but NBC should not be doing that game.
That doesn't feel like an NBC game. I
No.
can, I can see Fox doing that. I wouldn't like. That's not a terrible big noon game. I think it should be a night game. We deserve a night game after basically doing 6 straight noon games in a row this year. But
But here's the thing. This only stops if the Big Ten ADs and the Big Ten commissioner sits down with Fox, CBS, and NBC.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously CBS not moving from 3:30, but you can sit down with Fox, because
Yeah,
guess what? There's no Pac-12 anymore. Yeah, you have a half a contract with the Big 12. You can work things out.
absolutely. I just want to quickly touch upon the other playoff games. So we had the first game of the weekend, Indiana Notre Dame. And the crazy part about this game is everyone hated it. It was actually the second best game of the weekend when you look at the final score.
Yeah.
And it kind of made it interesting. They didn't do anything on their first drive, but they did pick off Notre Dame. Kind of looked like there's going to be something happening. And then they turned it over, and then Notre Dame went, 98 yards through. Love is a stud, that running back. And then Notre Dame pretty much had to control the entire time, it felt like. And then it was funny, like the last 5 minutes of the game, Indiana kind of locked in. They tried. Like it felt like they were like, oh, we gotta try. Scored a touchdown, got the two, got the onside kick, scored a touchdown, didn't get the two, and that was basically the dagger. And then they missed the onside kick. It was already a 2 possession game, but Indiana did make it interesting at the end. SMU versus Penn State was never. This was a stinker. 2 pick sixes to start for SMU. Jennings on SMU. Nick Saban kind of interviewed it. Well, he interviewed him pregame, and he read him perfectly. He's like, "Dude, your hands are cold. There's 100,000 people. You look nervous," and he was spot on about Jennings. And James Franklin, he got the job done, 38-10. Well done. This one was probably the best game. It was Clemson, Texas. Texas won 38-24. Clemson went down and scored right away. But then the problem was Texas was just a wagon. Clemson could not stop Texas at all.
Clemson cut the lead to 7, and then they went for it on 4th and goal, and didn't get it. I mean, bad play calling right there. I thought Klubnik played very, very well. Just Texas was too much, and obviously our game, and the quarterfinals are now set.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know we got Christmas this week. We're still celebrating the Tennessee game, and I'm sure next Monday we'll hop back on, preview the Rose Bowl game, and then preview the other quarterfinal games. But looking ahead, just found out Carson Beck out for the rest of the playoffs for Georgia. How will that affect Georgia? Um, Arizona State, what kind of team are we going to get out of them? I think Boise State, Penn State's going to be a really good game. I know Penn State fans are calling that James Franklin big game James, which I don't understand. Beating SMU is not a big game. I mean, it says that on paper, but it's not really a big game. It is a big game, but it's not like
I think that game's gonna be one of the best games
I
of. I think Boise State, Penn State. That's gonna be a real. I know Boise State. I think is a big.
that's that game's at 11 or 1 o'clock on New Year's Day.
No. Boise State, Penn State is New Year's Eve. That's a 7 o'clock New Year's Eve game.
No, the Fiesta Bowl, yeah,
That's the
and
bowl, yeah.
then the Peach Bowl is at 1 o'clock, and then the Rose Bowl, and then the Sugar Bowl. I think the Sugar Bowl could be a banger. It's going to be a slugfest. What's crazy is you're good. I think New Year's Day. I think Texas is going to roll Arizona State. I don't want Texas to win. I want Arizona State to win, and I want just because I don't want the way the SEC fans have been since. Let me check on Bama fans. You calling Tennessee mid after Ohio State destroyed them? What's that make you? You got beat by Tennessee.
There just wasn't
You
any.
got beat by Vanderbilt, and you got beat by Oklahoma.
There was just what there just wasn't any logic on the internet this week. I think we could all agree.
Yeah.
I will say this: the first round of the playoffs are not perfect. Um, I think there's going to have to be some new formatting, some rearrangements with the seeding, perhaps. The first round, the matchups were not good, and this is. I will say though, it's a lot better than meaningless bowl games, and I'm glad all these other teams got their shots, and we can end these arguments of if this team was in, they would have done this. No, if this team was in, they lost by 30, and it's fine. And now these teams are warmed up. They're ready to go play some conference champions, and I think it worked out for everyone, other
Yeah.
than the away teams. So,
How would how in looking back at these home playoff games, how would you reseed this? I'll tell you how I would reseed it. I think Clemson, due to the fact that they won the ACC title, should have got a home game.
I
Granted, you went 9-3, but you won an ACC title. I would have had them host, obviously Notre Dame host, Penn State host, and Ohio State host. I would have sent. Here's what I would have done. I would have sent. Um, it's tough. I honestly, I would have sent Indiana. Like you could have made this a really bad. This could have been the worst game. I would have sent Indiana to Clemson. Like I really would have. Then you could have had bangers of games. You could have SMU versus Texas, the Battle of Texas, like Dallas, Texas versus Austin.
would have done.
And then I would have done tennis.
I would have sent Tennessee to Clemson, SMU, Texas, and then Indiana, Penn State. I'm just trying to think how it's tough though. Because then you're just moving every. I don't know.
Then
It just
who's hot? Who would Ohio State got?
I would have given Ohio State.
SMU to Texas, Indiana to Penn State. Oh, Notre Dame was right there.
No, it wouldn't work, bro. Because the problem is honestly, I think this year's an outlier because Boise State. It's so weird that the not like the group of five team
Or
got.
not make conference champions automatic four. Like you rank them and then you just rank the highest four.
There's no perfect solution to this,
No, there
unfortunately.
isn't.
It's it's gonna change from year to year. But we got
Yeah.
some great games now. We got um Indiana Notre Dame. We got it's Indiana Notre Dame. Oh, I'm pulling up the games. Uh No, it was Indiana Notre Dame. What am I talking about?
It was Arizona. So the first, so New Year,
Texas. I
Arizona.
got it.
No,
I got it.
New Year's Eve is Penn State Boise State.
Boise State. So 7:30. Penn State, Boise State, Fiesta Bowl, January 1st, 2025, New Year's Day, first game of the year. Texas, Arizona State, Peach Bowl, 1 o'clock. The granddaddy of them all, 5 o'clock. Ohio State, Oregon, Rose Bowl, and then finally wrap it off. Notre Dame versus Georgia, Sugar Bowl, 8:45 p.m. All these games look fantastic to me. Um, Even the games where you know Texas and Penn State are pretty big favorites. I think Arizona State and Boise State are feisty, and they're very well coached, and they're gonna come ready. I think they
And that's an
present.
early kickoff too for both teams, Arizona State and Texas.
Yeah.
So that game's at 1 o'clock. So you're talking about a 10 a.m. kickoff for Arizona State and a 11 a.m. kickoff for Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And then the granddaddy of them all, Ohio State, Oregon. And Ohio State came out and released that they're going to wear their traditional road whites, which I love.
Gorgeous. They look gorgeous, brother.
Just something just hits right when they wear them. I mean, they wore them in '97. I know we wore had the big sleeves back there. We wore them in 2009, 2010, where we played Oregon. Obviously, I think Oregon's going to come out with some banger uniforms as well. I can't wait to re-preview that game. Meaning re-preview because we've already previewed it
I mean,
before. But
so my quick thoughts on the Oregon game. I just think I feel like this team is so Ohio State is so angry of how the Michigan game ended. And what they have so much unfinished business from how the Oregon game ended. 1 second left on the clock. And I'm
the
not saying
the OPI.
we have to figure out the field goal kicking. I don't understand how fielding. I
At least out there to be 50 degrees and sunny and
I just don't understand how fielding. Like he's fine on extra points, no problem there. I just don't understand how we don't have a D1 kicker that can kick a 50-yard field goal. It's
hey,
still,
there's one in the portal from Ohio made 80 of 82 in his career.
and it blows my mind. I didn't hate. I like the decision by Will Howard got us in field goal range before the end of the second half, and it was a long field goal. But I love that Ryan Day tried it fielding out there, and it's like, hey, I have confidence in you. Go make the field, and it was a wet fart. It was a quail, like it was a duck. What are we doing, dude? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Our buddy Jason, he thinks the other kicker, whoever our other kicker is, should be playing. Apparently, he has a lot bigger leg. So,
We'll
I don't
see.
know. Yeah, we'll see. That's my one gripe about the game. Just the field goal kicking has to improve. But
Do you hope Ohio State brings out the roses stripe on the helmets like they did
yes,
in
yeah,
this game?
yeah. Oh yeah, I got my Rose Bowl hat on with the score of 48-45.
Yeah. By the way, the Rose Bowl apparel this year sucks, and you can't get it, and only Fanatics has it, and you can't get it until after the game is going to be played.
Dude, I'm just so pumped to see like Jack Sawyer going to the Rose Bowl. I just see, I just the
He got
picture.
kicked out of the last one
He did, yeah, he did. That's right. I totally forgot about that. And Mecca was a freshman.
because Cade Stover had to play linebacker.
Yeah, dude, I forgot about that. He got targeting. It was it second quarter or something like that.
Yeah, and Cam Rising was still playing.
Cam Rising still I think is playing. It's crazy. It was 4 years ago. Jack Sawyer's a senior. That's insane. Demario McCall was in that game. Um, um, there's
Cade
something
Stover played linebacker.
there's something just awesome about the Rose Bowl, though.
Jackson Smith and Jigba decided, hey, I'm going to break records.
There's something awesome about the Rose Bowl. I think, you know, it's going to be a great game. This is really the Big Ten championship. It feels like too. I know Oregon.
People are saying it's the national championship.
I'm not going to go.
I'm not going that far.
That's a very bold statement because there's still some very good teams in the bracket. I will say Notre Dame, they're a legit threat right
Their
now.
defense,
They did lose a defensive tackle. I
yeah.
think against Indiana, which was a big blow to them. But Georgia, Beck's out. He's getting surgery. So they win that game, and it's literally looking like Notre Dame versus and it's
Penn State or Boise.
Penn State or Boise, which it could be Notre Dame Boise too. That would be insane. Boise State could potentially go to the national champion. Boise State is very alive too.
Here's my question for you, Dan. What is SEC fans going to do if Notre Dame knocks off Georgia and Arizona State knocks off Texas? And there's Oregon or Ohio State, Boise, say Penn State loses, Boise State versus Notre Dame, Oregon or Ohio State versus Arizona State in the Cotton Bowl.
So the SEC, it's still a very good conference and everything, but I think there's been a shift the past year and a half where
It's slowly shifting. Yeah.
and Ohio State has always basically been kind of the kryptonite to the SEC in the fact that hey, we've been able to win championships and get into the playoffs and stuff and contend. But then Michigan did it last year.
What's
And
crazy, Dan,
Michigan
is
breaking through was huge for the conference, and even though they cheated, they did cheat. But I think mentally for the conference, that was a big hurdle because now it's just not Ohio State. It's now we have Michigan. Now maybe
Oregon.
Oregon can do it. It made the playoff. Like it was just
I mean,
so
in
mental.
all reality, no Ruggles makes a field goal, or we get a little bit closer. Marvin Harrison doesn't go out. We
Yeah.
beat Georgia. We win a national championship. That's 2 years in a row in the Big Ten with potentially, with Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State. We're getting two teams in the semifinals.
I don't think
Almost. One, actually, we're getting one for sure.
Nick Saban really carried that conference for so many years, and it was evident. And then Kirby had a nice little run. But I think
Started
Georgia,
with Urban Meyer, by the way.
yeah, Georgia, I think is coming back to earth a little bit because they just had those couple recruiting cycles where they just got every 5-star on defense for like 3 or 4 years straight, and now I feel like it's beginning to. They're still getting great players, but it's not as insane as it was. You can beat these guys now. There's flaws.
Urban Meyer started the SEC run in 2006,
Well,
beating Ohio State.
we can really make this. We can make the argument that Nick Saban did it with LSU, and then
Well, because you think about
kind of
Florida,
LSU became a program too.
Florida, LSU, and then Florida again. Started it all, and then Alabama, Auburn, Alabama again. Like it's tough, but you could see the switch in momentum, and I think that's why ESPN, because like I texted you and Blake earlier, Arizona State and Notre Dame knocks off Georgia and Texas. Not only does ESPN, who owns the rights to the SEC, but they also own the rights to the playoffs, has to air these teams. Like, say if Ohio State or Oregon get into the semifinals, and Penn State gets there, and then there's Notre Dame. Let's hypothetically Arizona State versus Ohio State or Oregon, and then Penn State and Notre Dame in the semifinals. The fact that ESPN will have to air those games is funny to me.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. Like, if that happens, now I'm right here going to sit here and tell you that I don't think Arizona State's going to beat Texas, but I do think Notre Dame's got a real good shot. Obviously, we'll break that down next week, but
my hot take is, I hate to say this, my hot take is Cass. Ohio State wins convincingly against Oregon. Texas beats Arizona State. And we're riding high. We're feeling good. We just beat Tennessee and Oregon. And then Texas beats us in a heartbreaker. And then they play Notre Dame. And
in Dallas.
Intact, Texas wins the Natty. Just because I think they get the easier path. I think Ohio State is absolutely the better team than Texas, but the problem is our path is so difficult. Tennessee, Oregon, most likely Texas, and then whoever from the other side of the bracket, they're going to be a great team.
It,
It's a brutal
it
path.
it's a mentality though.
It is. It
this
is.
team. Obviously it's one game. We got Oregon to go. I
If
can't wait for the
if the
Rose
team we
Bowl.
saw Saturday night shows up against Oregon and then continues to show up and play like that against
It's
Texas,
over. It's a
we're
wrap.
good. We're fine. We just got to convince my. This is also what I said. We just got to convince that Ryan Day. We got to convince Ryan Day that Oregon is just Indiana or Iowa or Nebraska or Rutgers. Like we just got to put Rutgers or someone on Illinois, someone ran Michigan State. Like just when you like it's like the water boy when like you got to visualize the other sideline. Just it's not Michigan. It's not Michigan because on Tennessee we were going for fourth downs. We were aggressive. Um, he let he let the horses run. Like we have the horses and he let them free. He let them run. We aired it out. We did what we had to do. We did not hold back. And that's what we need to see from this team. We have the talent. We got to trust the players. We got to let them go.
All right, we got three booms today. Three booms today.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Transfer portal guys, running back from West Virginia. West Virginia. This kid,
CJ Donaldson Jr.
C.J. Donaldson Jr.
31
He's
touchdowns in his career, bro. He is a power back. He is 6'2", almost 240 pounds, light on his feet. He can catch the ball. Very good player. Very, very excited about this pickup.
and then and then we got an FCS tackling machine in Logan George from
Same,
Idaho State.
same
From
hometown as Tommy Togiai. Love that.
and then we got the tight end, the number one tight end in the portal
Oh, Purdue.
from Purdue. Claire, I mean, him
Yeah.
and Jelani Thurman being team lined up together is going to be huge next year. And then it sounds like the kid from Rice is, logistics things right now. So you
Yeah.
got Philip Daniels last week. That means I heard Josh Thompson. It's a no. It's basically a no now because the way Luke got I think when he came to the game Saturday, because he was going to play guard at Ohio State
Yeah.
and realized how good Austin Serveld and Luke Montgomery played. He's like, yeah, there's no shot I'm going to play.
That's fine. No, I love what we did in the portal. We're not going after, I feel like these like the high expensive guys. We're going after like the analytic guys who like fit our system and will where we
And
need.
and this kid from Rice, I'm not going to butcher his name. Everybody, Buckeye fans know who he is. I'm just going to say the kid from Rice. Um, he's going to start left tackle next year, and Philip Daniels going to start right tackle next year.
Perfect.
And then we got Luke Montgomery, Austin Serveld, and Josh Padilla and Carson Hinsman. Like, I want to see Josh Padilla, dude. He played 2 snaps and about gone in a fight. Like,
It's we got about 20 seconds, but I just want to say this win against Tennessee. I feel like a couple weeks ago the program was about to die, and now this program has momentum again. We're getting recruits. We're back. Everything's good in Buckeye Nation. I just want to wish everyone real quick a
yep,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you all so much for listening to another episode of the Bunch of Nuts podcast. We will be back to preview Oregon. Go Bucks.
Happy Festivus.
And Merry Christmas, Merry Chrysler. Go Bucks, baby.
Go Bucks.